What are you doing, Boo? This is Bella's porch. She thinks she owns it. So I know this seems a little ridiculous, but I want to show you guys kind of what I pack on a day-to-day basis. So here we've got I've got water for my pre-workout, which we're about to go buy. I've got my protein shake for after my workout, which I've already had, my breakfast and meal number one. I've got my gallon of water, which I keep cool in the fridge overnight, although it's not completely full today. I've got my gym bag here, just because today I'm not going to be able to come home and shower. I'm going to be at the gym, so I'm going to shower there. So it's all loaded up with everything I need for that. Here I've got just my meals packed up and ready to go for what I need while I'm out today. And then I've got just my computer bag just so I can work and do some stuff, some advertising and whatnot, or whatever I need to do on my computer. So let's head out to Vitamin Shop and get the pre-workout that we need. Alright, so we just got done at the Vitamin Shop here. So give you guys a rundown. I've been really enjoying the Gold Standard pre-workout lately, so that's what I'm sticking with. It's really mild, and it just kind of gives me a caffeine boost. Like you guys know, I'm not a huge supplement fan or believer, I guess. I don't believe that you need them necessarily, but it's nice to have that extra caffeine boost, especially since I haven't had any coffee or anything this morning. So, and then they had a pretty good deal on my favorite Combat Crunch bars, the Cinnamon Twist. Again, I've said it before. Muscle Farm, if you guys want to pay me to eat these, that would be great. If not, I'm going to continue eating them because they're great. So we're going to make a protein. We're going to make our pre-workout and head into the gym. Alright guys, what is going on? I'm going to take you through my back workout. This one was done a day after a very heavy lat oriented work, so I want to do a lot of rowing motions in. I really like this piece of equipment. It's very versatile. I've used it as a bench press, as a calf raise, as a squat, and here I'm using it as a wide angle bent over row, and it works really great. It's one of the best squeezes I've got out of all the pieces of equipment that we have for wide rows in the gym, and so I really enjoy this one. And all I'm doing is I'm getting down into that bent over rowing position just like you would have a barbell, and making sure that that lower back is locked nice and tight, a little bit of an arch, not a rounded lower back, and I'm just squeezing those the shoulder blades and the upper trapezius. So I am at a slight upward angle to focus on kind of some of those upper portion muscles, the upper trapezius, the supraspinatus, and some of those other muscles in there. So next we've got underhanded bent over rows. We're really focusing on the bent over row aspect for these first two exercises out of the three that I did. And the reason for that is a lot of people overlook the bent over rows these days, and they're so important for developing the lower back strength. You can do back extensions, but really the back was designed to stabilize instead of extend, and so putting yourself into a position where you're doing rowing motions with heavy weight are great. great. So one of the tips here is to keep the elbows close to the body. Again, I'm kind of pulling at an upward angle, and I'm pulling this right to my abdomen. Sometimes some people will pull it straight to their chest. It just kind of depends on the angle that you are wanting to hit, and I was hitting kind of that upper portion just like I was on the last part of the exercise, because that is a weaker area for me specifically. And you'll see this a couple times throughout the video, but I do a few poses, specifically a couple of lat spreads. What I find is that if I work on those poses in between sets on exercises, not only does it keep the muscles working, but it keeps me practicing. And I've noticed that my muscles continue to get just a little bit harder the more and more that I do posing practice, and it just gives me much needed practice. So you can kind of see it from a back angle here this time, bent over, little bit of an arch in the low back, and I'm just squeezing those shoulder blades together while keeping those elbows tight to the body. Now, if you notice, I do occasionally look up at my body just to see where my form's at, but for the most part, my head is neutral. It's looking down rather than up so that I don't break that neutral spine. Here's another one of those front lat spreads. Again, I'm doing this just to have something to do in between sets and to practice my posing for the upcoming competition. So just really something to keep me on my toes and make the most out of every single training session that I'm doing right now. Looks like I went and got some chalk there. Chalk is really important. If your gym doesn't have some chalk, I would highly suggest investing in some chalk. It really makes it, especially if you're not using straps, it really makes it a lot easier to hold the bar when you start to get sweaty. Now, one thing that I want to point out here is how slowly that I go down into my bent over position, and how important it is to make sure that you're setting yourself up properly for this exercise, because if that back isn't locked into place right, and you go down too fast and you end up with a rounded lower back or rounded upper back, there's some serious cause for potential for harm in that situation. The next exercise here is a seated face pull. Typically, I like to do face pulls seated just because you get a little bit of extra balance and support rather than doing them standing, and I just always felt a better squeeze. So today I set up the low row station, and I'll show you guys that here in just a second. But if you notice that my wrists are turned in, my thumb is turned down, and I'm pulling just towards the chin. And the reason I'm pulling towards the chin instead of the forehead is because I'm more focused on the inside of my scapula, the inside of my shoulder blade, than I am with the back of my shoulder. So that's the variation between the two. The higher that you pull up to your face, the more emphasis you're putting on that rear delt, although everything's still getting worked regardless of where you're pulling to. But you'll see me pull mostly towards my mouth or nose in this one, so that I can work on the inside of the back, which is just what I wanted to be targeting for this last exercise that I did. Again, you'll see me here just really making sure to squeeze those scapulae together and to drive those elbows back as far as I can get them. This is the setup that I was talking about. If your gym does not have a low row machine, all you need is a couple pieces of equipment, a couple benches, and you're good to go. What's up? Alright, post-workout. Got my post-workout shake here. I just wanted to chat with you guys something I was thinking about while I was working out. And that's the idea that when you are doing, I showed you guys a couple of, especially one new exercise with the wide rows. And one thing to keep in mind is while these exercises work great for me and they're tips that I'm, bringing to you, they're not necessarily going to work great for everyone. I realized as I was actually taking my shower that particular movement would probably, with that machine at this gym, wouldn't work quite as well for a shorter person because you can't set the bars down very far. So it works out really well since I'm 6'3", but for somebody else it may be more difficult. So keep in mind that these are just things for you to try. And I give you little tips in order to feel the muscle that I feel that I'm emphasizing. But remember, if you're not feeling it there, you can always adjust your angle or, play around with it a little bit until you feel it where either I've suggested it or rather where you want to feel it. So that muscle-mind connection isn't something that develops overnight. So if you have trouble with the muscle-mind connection, play around with angles and different ways of doing things until you can feel that specific muscle.